gonna shout till we're 6 feet over. We're gonna demonstrate something unusual. Come on, do that proclamation with us. Everybody do it, let's go. We're gonna turn the world upside down. We're gonna turn these people right side up. We're gonna shout till we're 6 feet over. We're gonna demonstrate something unusual. Come on! Something unusual.
So we're live? Okay. All right. Hello, everyone. Hope you're all doing well today. I have a couple of things to share with you. One of them being the video that we've been trying to play for you for the last 2 weeks. Look, it's up on Prophetic Rewind. It's on our YouTube and Rumble channels. So if you haven't seen it, hopefully some of you were able to find it. But I have it today, as well as another prophecy, 2 of them from 2010, all of them having to do with the Fourth Reich, because my dad prophesied the rise of a Fourth Reich. So, first of all, of course, you all know, I've started doing a scripture verse every week when we meet together. So today, because it was so long, I have Revelation 13 on the board with nothing else, because I'm going to read the whole thing. So as everybody's coming online here, I'm actually going to read from my dad's Bible. This Bible was given to him by Bishop Mark Sharona, who is a dear friend. And I'm just going to start reading the Bible as people hop on. And I'm really going to want as much input as I can read today in the chat. It's difficult sometimes to keep up, but I want to have a bit of a discussion with you more today. And of course, as it was titled in the live that you've seen posted upcoming, I called it Code Breakers, because that's what we're going to do today. We're going to do a little code breaking and have a look at this, because with what we see going on at the UN and the World Economic Forum and the EU and the NATO and the World Health Organization and blah, 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 all the letters, they have big plans. I'm not sure if you heard about Agenda 2030. Many of you know what I mean. And if you are following some of the same people I follow, you've heard a little bit about this already. I saw Glenn Beck did some pretty extensive coverage of this. So for details, you would go to Glenn Beck. I would advise, if you want to see. He did a really good special this week covering a lot of what's going on with this Agenda 2030, all to do with climate change and you're not going to own anything and you're going to be happy. You're not going to get to have a car anymore. You're going to live in these wonderful green, smart cities, and everything's going to be dandy. And there's going to be no more hunger or poverty in the world. That's the plan. So and you think that we don't want there to be, nobody wants there to be hunger or poverty or suffering at all. It's just that we understand, when looking at this agenda, no matter how they try to put it across to us, it will result in us abiding by laws of men. And these particular men and women are up to no good. And their goal is to have utter control of us, including what we think. So as happy as we've been with Elon Musk and Twitter, there is a concern because of how much control he has. And he does seem to be a little bit on the side of conservatives, or kind of waking up. But at the same time, he's got the Neuralink program, which there are benefits that could be really beneficial. However, these people have been given the power to control everything. Like I said, what you think, even, because with Neuralink, they can link your brain into the cloud and even judge you by what you're thinking. And if you don't behave, if you say something that they don't like, they can turn off your electric car. They can turn off your smartphone. I don't know if you guys heard about it, but there was a guy who has a smart home, and it's powered by the Amazon thing. And he had an Amazon delivery. He wasn't at home. Someone delivered something. They heard through the Ring doorbell, or the doorbell that has a recording on it, thought that he had made some kind of a racial slur, And so the person, the Amazon delivery person who believed they'd heard that, reported it. And without Amazon ever doing any kind of investigation, they shut down the guy's house. And it took him over a week or a few weeks or something to get his house turned back on. Uh, so this is giving an extraordinary amount of control to a very small group of people who we know by listening to people like Yuval Noah Harari that they do not like Christians, and it is particularly the God of the Bible that they attack. You don't see them outwardly saying things against other religions, either Islam, Judaism, Hinduism, whatever. They don't. They are very particular about attacking Christians. You'll also notice this is going on in the trans and LGBTQ plus community, in the percentage of them that are going out there and walking around naked and showing themselves off. They are very directly attacking Christians. And so this to me is very indicative of the times we're living in because, we were warned. Jesus himself said that this would happen to us. So let's go ahead and read Revelation 13, and I'm going to play videos for you. Okay, so Revelation 13, the beast from the sea. This is New King James Version Bible. Then I stood on the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast rising up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and on his horns 10 crowns, and on his hands a blasphemous name. Now the beast which I saw was like a leopard. His feet were like the feet of a bear, and his mouth like the mouth of a lion. The dragon gave him his power, his throne, and great authority. So a couple things to look at there quickly. The beast was like a leopard, his feet like the feet of a bear, the mouth like the mouth of a lion. There is that statue in front of the UN building that looks exactly like that. So that's a little alarming. Ding, 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 bells. Okay, verse 3. And I saw one of the heads as if it had been mortally wounded, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world marveled and followed the beast. So they worshipped the dragon who gave authority to the beast, and they worshipped the beast, saying, Who is like the beast? Who is able to make war with him? And he was given a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and he was given authority to continue for 42 months. Then he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name, his tabernacle, and those who dwell in heaven. Really, every time I listen to Yuval Noah Harari speak, it's like that to me anyway. I don't know if I'm not saying he's anybody. I'm not qualified to give you that information, but I think it's worthy of note that a lot of these things that are written here, we are beginning to see manifest. And so we should pay attention, I think, especially as Christians. It's very important. So then he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God. This is verse 6, to blaspheme his name, his tabernacle, and those who dwell in heaven. It was granted to him to make war with the saints and to overcome them, and authority was given him over every tribe, tongue, and nation. Now that's the key thing, is because the globalist agenda, they don't want us having borders. They don't want us having pride in our nation, our country, our heritage, because the goal is to have a global world, and it's governed by a small elite who will be, in the end, the only ones who are allowed to make choices, including choices for us. So anybody that is concerned, this is a slavery upon all of us, where a select few will be privileged, even to live forever. That's their plan. And they've figured some things out with genetics and robotics and artificial intelligence. And so they figured out how to make their bodies live forever. But that just makes me think of another verse in Revelation where it says they'll cry for death and it will not come to them. So, anyway, let's keep going. All who dwell on the earth will worship him, whose names have not been written in the book of life of the Lamb, slain from the foundation of the world. If anyone has an ear, let him hear. He who leads into captivity shall go into captivity. He who kills with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. Then I saw another beast coming up out of the earth, and this is what we need to listen to now. And he had 2 horns like a lamb and spoke like a dragon. And he exercises all the authority of the first beast in his presence, and causes the earth and those who dwell in it to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. He performs great signs, so that he even makes fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men, and he deceives those who dwell on the earth by those signs which he was granted to do in the sight of the beast, telling those who dwell on the earth to make an image to the beast who was wounded by the sword and lived. He was granted power to give breath to the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause as many as would not worship the image of the beast to be killed. He causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand and on their foreheads, and that no one may buy or sell except one who has the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. This is the thing that got my attention right now, because we are dealing with that's actually happening. I mean, if you don't believe me, you can look it up. There are people that are having chips implanted into them that has their identification and all of their financial information. So we are seeing a system being developed in which all human beings across the earth will have to be plugged into it. Um, so that's quite concerning, because we are seeing that happen. Um, okay, here we go. He causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave. Okay, reading it again. To receive a mark on their right hand or on their foreheads, and that no one may buy or sell except one who has the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Here is wisdom, that him who has understanding calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man. His number is 666. So also something else we keep seeing all across the board is the 666 being implemented into the logos. So CERN has a 666. Twitter's new logo is a 666. So they're doing this on purpose. It looks like to me, like these people, they either have no idea what was said there, or uh, they're doing it on purpose, either as an antagonistic thing or because they actually know it's true. Um, and are trying to divert. I'm not sure, but what I do know is my dad saw that it would all be as a result of greed, which we can see that, including greed for power, and that the Fourth Reich would fall. Okay, so when I say Fourth Reich, I'm talking about um, what I think my dad was seeing at this stage, which is these people who have this global agenda. So you have Agenda 2030, which, from what I was reading this morning, and let me tell you how hard it is to find news on anything. I mean, I was looking for some fresh images to just show you of the Netherlands today, and if I'm looking in the news, it's just buried, 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 buried. You can't go onto Google and type uh, Netherland protest without having to go through pages and pages of other stuff. Their Miss whatever pageant that they just had is all over the place, and you can't see anything about that the government's actually fallen over there. So let me have a look at your chats, at the chat here, and see what you people are saying here, because I am interested to hear what you have to say and what you think. Okay. Diane from Wisconsin, hello. Donna from San Diego, Angela, Snowden. um, they are evil, yes. Pinky and the Brain, yes. Pinky and the Brain. We need to have like a little thing I can play, where it plays the little song. I think we can have 7 seconds without being copywritten. I'm talking to my cousin who's sitting with me. So yeah, that's exactly from the beginning. That's what I thought about them before I really knew even much about them. I looked at them. It's like I got the little song in my head, Pinky and the Brain, 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 brain. What are we gonna do today, Pinky? How does try to take over the world? That's what those two are up to. Listen, they're gonna fail. God's already told us they're gonna fail, but there is a concern because it is prophesied in the Bible. I don't know what's happening with my hair here today. It is prophesied in the Bible. Um, what just that little bit I just read, and I know you guys know this because you're reading your Bibles too. Like if you start reading through it, it's so obvious. It's just like with the river Euphrates drying up, which I've been going on about for over a year now, is that it's drying up so that the armies of the east can march upon the west. That's not nothing, because we're looking at that. Like whatever the reasons are, whoever's in the right or wrong in the situation sort of becomes irrelevant, because it looks like there are bad actors in every country, right? So you can't say, oh, this country is good and this one's bad. It's not as easy. I mean, yeah, I know, I understand like with like the Chinese Communist Party and like North Korea, it's obvious that the leadership is all, but um, as far as if you look at it like the way my dad prophesied it, God was always directing those prophecies, unless through my dad, he specifically said, Putin, you will or you will not. But the rest of the time, he's actually addressing the citizens of those countries to give them hope. So God's speaking to his people. And that's often what happens when you listen to my dad's prophecies. You can see that it is actually directed at the people, the citizens. Perhaps he's talking about a particular country. So there's all kinds of nonsense going on in Ukraine and corruption and all that. And we know that all the way back from when the Soviet Union fell and they were trying to make democracies over there and stuff. It didn't really work out because so much corruption was there, and you have the oligarchs, and you have over on our end, you've got, we see what's going on with our government. Um, so it's really that the weak people, so maybe they're clever and maybe they're good at talking and maybe they're good at making money and influencing people, but they're so weak inside. Those weak people were able to be pulled into corruption, especially once they were in positions of leadership. So you're seeing this across the board in all the countries. And so we have to remember that the citizens of these countries, uh, just like we feel misrepresented in America, they also feel misrepresented. There's and there's, we can't say 100%, but that most people want those basic things like a home that is safe for their families to raise children that they can eat. Those basic things that everybody needs and wants is across the board. We all want that. And so deceptions will come in and people will get the propaganda, people will get influenced. But God has not forgotten them. So just remember that too as we look at prophecies. Elon is going to fight Zuck in a cage match. I've heard this. I keep seeing it on Twitter. It's so silly. Hilda Stromowski. I don't know who that is. I'm seeing someone typing that. Oh, there she is again. Who's Hilda? Okay. So let's go ahead and play the first video. It's from the Netherlands. Hello, Loopy Loo from Ireland. I like that, Loopy Loo. We're going to go ahead and play the first prophecy I had for you guys. And it's my dad in the Netherlands in 2010. And we're playing this in the order that he prophesied. So he did a Europe trip in 2010. He went to the Netherlands, he went to France, and a few other places. So I have those two prophecies from the Netherlands and from France. The France one I've been trying to play you for weeks. We're going to start with the Netherlands. It's a little under 5 minutes long. So, oh, thank you, Leatha Williams, for the super chat. That's awesome. Thank you. Am I saying your name right? Lisa or Leatha? Lisa, looks like Williams. Yay, thank you so much. Okay, here we go. We're gonna play this prophecy and pray, Lord, please, please let it work. Okay, let's see.
And the Spirit of the Lord says, yeah, oh Europe, yeah, divided Europe. Your sons and your daughters are dissatisfied, as was Martin Luther. This is the beginning, says the Lord, of a reformation. Watchmen on the wall have died. Oh, watchmen, watchmen, what of the night? Watchmen, what of the night? Watchmen, watchmen, what of the night? Watchmen, what of the night? It is still, says the watchman, but it is not. It is not. There is a storm brewing, says the Lord, but this is not a natural one. And God said there will be a great, massive fight. Just one war. One war. It shall manifest in 4 different countries. the beast of the east, who has said we will remove Christianity in total from Europe, America, Israel. We will remove their God and we will bring Allah. There is a storm brewing, but God says, I have already prepared the angels. I have already prepared an outpouring, and that which is dying shall suddenly come back to life. Russia, Africa, Sierra Leone, Africa, Italy, Germany, France, you made an alliance. You were an ally to the Third Reich. There is a fourth one arising from the east to take over your streets, to take over your children and remove Jesus. But the Spirit of God said, truth will prevail. A cause will not prevail. And the people will begin to arise from the streets. And I will manifest myself in whorehouses. I'll go to red light districts. I'll begin to take them from their place of pain and turn it into a place of rain, says the Lord. Come on. Come on. God said there's going to be a reformation. But this time, God said, I'll use Germany. I'll use Italy. Yes. I'll use Holland, the Netherlands. I'll use France. They will stand and they will stand against the Spirit. And that'll be the countries that I'll begin a great reformation, and there will be an abolishment of the laws of men, and your young men and young women shall rise, 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 and shout, shout, shout.
Okay, so there you go, guys. Look at that. Quite haunting the beginning where he starts shouting, Watchman, what of the night? Because that's actually a thing that he did quite frequently, especially towards the end. I think even one of his last prophecies, he was shouting it again. So crucial, because that is something. I was reading through your comments here. Let me see if I can find it now. Andre said, God is amazing. Every place where Prophet Kim prophesied, you see things happening. See, that was the boots on the ground thing. I saw that comment while we were waiting. That was the boots on the ground thing. Everywhere, because God told him to do the boots on, he named it, my dad named it boots on the ground. Because he would go to a region and conduct spiritual warfare in that region prior to the physical manifestation of whatever it was he was seeing would come in the future. So he was in Ukraine, he was in England, Paris, trying to remember everywhere he, especially that last couple of years of his life, he was traveling around New York City, even particular states that he went. So yes, very good point there, Andre B. Yeah, this using Trump, right? And at this point, it's getting to where Trump, I don't really feel like I can trust anybody else. and it's not putting all of your faith in one man. It's just I know that the way it was prophesied and the way things are happening, it is kind of looking that way. Um, and so I try to uh, when I'm evaluating all of these prophecies, I can't get too in the moment. Like you need to go in and hone in on a topic, but then it's also important to pull back out and look at the big picture because sometimes and I know this has happened so often. People will think something's been fulfilled, and then there's sort of more to it, or it's not quite there. It wasn't quite that, and that's happened to me. Sort of jumping the gun, like, oh, that's what this means. When you kind of have to have a little bit of patience and discernment when it comes to prophecy. You can't just go jumping out and thinking it's fulfilled. Also, it shouldn't be too hard either to find it. It should be pretty obvious. God's going to make sure that everybody can understand this. So you don't have to be a scholar or a theologian or a scientist or whatever to understand. Like it should be easy to see, which is how I'm seeing this right now. I'm looking at this is why I'm sharing these prophecies right now because it's happening so quickly. And then you have World Economic Forum, World Health Organization. You have a lot of exposures, UN. You have a lot of exposures going on. Now, Dad was very particular when he prophesied about the UN. He said they would be caught with their pants down, that what they're doing is so disgusting, we don't even have a clue about it, but it's a stench to God's nostrils. That's what he saw about the UN. And then we saw what we just read in Revelation 13. They have that statue at the UN that looks like someone read straight out of Revelation and created the statue to match that, or, you know, wow. Like if they didn't know, it seems to me like they should. And then you look at CERN, and CERN, I just posted it on my Twitter page the other day. If you don't follow me on Twitter, it's at Donna Petra. Is it? Yeah, at Donna Petra. I hate the handles. It's too much to keep up with. Anyway, at Donna Petra, you can go and look. So I've been posting a lot of information on Twitter, information on the Netherlands and that's when I pulled this prophecy because I actually found the news on Twitter and there's videos and there's pictures. But if you try to do a Google search, it's a bit of a hunt. But they've actually overthrown the government over there. And in France, also now we're looking, people are calling for Macron to step down. And you do see sort of a little, an outcry of, oh, we're not going to make the 2030 agenda. Oh, what if we don't make it? It's like, no, we don't want you to make it because their whole plan is extraordinarily flawed. And they are looking at it with only eyes of the flesh and not the spiritual because they're so cut off from that. They don't even believe it, really. So, and I'm talking about World Economic Forum people and whoever's involved. I don't. Did you guys see the new Mel Gibson Jim Caviezel movie? I don't know if you saw it. If you see the reaction from the other side over the release of that movie, it's weird. Why would you have a problem with a movie that's about a man who's helping save children from sex trafficking and pedophilia rings? Why would you speak against that movie? Why do you care? I mean, there's so many movies that come out with so many crazy ideas and conspiracies. Like, why would they care unless they're guilty and trying to cover their own backsides? And that's what I think they're doing. And I think it's disgusting. And I'm very happy that Mel Gibson and Jim Caviezel did this movie. And the cool thing is, what they did the the what is it called? UFC fights, and was it UFC fights in Vegas last week? And my husband was watching. I don't watch those kind of things, but my husband was watching it, and I walked in, and he said, "Oh, look, Donald Trump's there," and I was like, "Oh, yay, Donald Trump's there. That's cool." And what a good reception he got. I sat there and watched. Funny thing is, it was two South Africans who fought and won that day, so that was kind of a weird connection. And then Roger Stone was with him, and Roger Stone is a friend and so of mine, and so he sent me a picture later on of him, Donald Trump, and Mel Gibson together. And I realized when I looked at that picture, where's my phone? I looked at that picture and I realized my dad prophesied over all three of these men. I'm looking for Roger in my text messages. Here he is. This picture. Can they see that? Do you know if they could? I didn't load it until to put up on this, but I thought you should see. That's my text message from Roger Stone, and that's what he sent me, that picture. And that's Mel Gibson, Roger Stone, and Donald Trump together. My dad prophesied over all three of those men and said all their names. He prophesied over them, not just a man, their names. Trump will be a trumpet, the simple stone. And Mel Gibson, before Mel Gibson made the Passion of the Christ movie, my dad had a friend who knew him, and Dad got a word from God for him, so he wrote it down. And I hope this is. It's been such a long time. I'm not sure of the details of the story, but what I do know is Dad wrote down a prophecy and told Mel Gibson that he needed that whatever movie that he was considering making, that he should do that movie. And that was right before he made Passion of the Christ. So he got that prophecy, and we heard, and I have to make sure this is true, but we did hear that Mel Gibson carried that prophecy around with him in his pocket as he made Passion of the Christ. So if you have to understand, for me to see that photograph sent to me by Roger, so by one of the people whose name was prophesied, who's not my friend, sent me that picture. And here's another one. There's Roger with Mel. So I'm super happy to hear that. I know Mel Gibson's had some rough times, but you know what? Right now, we can't be sitting around nitpicking at one another's flaws. And really, it's not a time to get too deep into the theological debates at this time. We've had 2,000 years to do that at this stage. There is an attack upon Christianity, and what we need to do is get together and ask for God's will. And some of these other things need to be put aside, arguments that at the end of the day, they're necessary. We should be having those discussions. There are people anointed to do that too. I'm certainly not one of them, but people are anointed to handle those things. And so I'm not belittling it, but I'm saying that if you were to prioritize urgency at this stage, we are in an urgent place, and we need to be able to bring people to us, not push away as much. And I'm not saying that you're okay with sin. That's not what I mean. What I mean is that if we have different theological ideas, like there's some people who don't believe in modern prophecy at all. The preterists do not believe in it. And I can't, it's disappointing for me, but I'm certainly not angry. I understand people, people's, it's the way the world is now, it's kind of a wild thing to say. Here's Kim Clement, this prophet, and he saw all of these things, and God showed it to him. When people struggle even to be sure if there is a God, and that's a problem, that we as Christians, I think, are the ones who are responsible to handle. To be dealing with this. So I look at someone like Elon Musk, for instance, and I know that a lot of the things he's doing, you see him making decisions that are questionable. Why did he wear what he wore on Halloween with the upside down cross and the symbols? There's a lot of demonic, satanic symbols. And then the technology he's working on, he has a lot of control with that technology. So he's providing internet service to Ukraine, and has been this whole time via his Starlink satellite system. But then you got to think about it. He's got satellites up there. He's got electric cars. He's got chips to stick in your brain that will heal you. And he's a South African. The South African thing keeps coming up. So back to the Netherlands. You heard him say there would be one big war, the beast of the East. So he's talking about Islam. You're going to hear in the next prophecy I play for you where he makes a comparison about something that happened with the invasion from the Middle East into Europe in the 7th century, something my dad prophesied. So we know that we know from what happened in France that their protests and the uprisings that happened were from a community of immigrants who do not assimilate. So, and you see this happening a lot in Europe. You've seen it happen a lot where you'll have people that are moving to these countries to make money, not because they have any kind of love for the country. And then the way they live is, number one, let's say, for instance, they live under Sharia law. They will abide by that first, and then the law of the country. So you will find that there's starting to be clashes, and this is something my dad foresaw. But there's a much bigger thing going on, like an umbrella over this. Good news is he said truth would prevail. He saw the people rising from the streets. That's what we are predominantly seeing. He named countries: Germany, Italy, Holland, France, Great Britain was another one, and another Holland, Netherlands. And he said there would be a second Reformation in Europe as a result of the Fourth Reich rising and the people overcoming it. So this is what I have gathered so far on the prophecies. And again, when I'm looking at these, I might have a tiny little bit more insight than you because I knew my dad, so I'll know. I can remember things, or I'll know, when he has certain tone of voice or certain expression. So I might know that kind of thing. But when it comes to the content of the prophecies that purely came from God through my dad, he didn't always understand everything that he prophesied because he truly just opened himself up and just said whatever he was revealed to him, be it through a sound, a smell, something he saw visually, whatever it was very, very pure. And you'll see that, if you think about the Trump prophecies, he was prophesying that before Trump ever was even considering being president. So 2007, this is right before Obama. That was an election year. You have my dad. Was it an election year? 2007. Because Obama became president 2008 to 2012. No, it was the year before the election year. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But right before Obama, you have dad prophesying who would be after Obama at a time when Trump wasn't thinking about it. So you have to kind of keep yourself there when you're dealing with prophecy, and also understand that my dad was not God, and he didn't understand always everything that he prophesied. He had better insight than we would have, but some of it puzzled him as much as us. So I know also, and I should bring this up, that the Fourth Reich issue was very important to my dad. One of the last conversations we ever had before he got sick, because he had a stroke. So about 2 days before that, I had come to his house to visit him, and I went in the back where he was on the back patio, and he was sitting there on a table on a chair, and I walked out and he said, "Donna, we've got to do the Fourth Reich book. We need to write this book on the Fourth Reich." And he was talking to me a little bit about it. He was very concerned about it. He felt we needed to be praying about it. He wanted to write a book about it. So we're going to play the next prophecy now from France. This is also about 5 minutes long. So go ahead and play France. This is 2010. He's in Paris, France, at a lovely church. By the way, I've been to that church. Just a beautiful congregation of people there, prophetic people who understand that. And they are there in France now, praying just as my dad in 2010. So that's 13 years ago. He prophesied this. So let's watch this. I've been trying to play this for you for 2 weeks. Hopefully it works. Please, Lord Jesus.
But Europe will be affected in the same way that Daniel was praying. There was a war in the heavens. Prince of Persia. There was a battle going on. As there is today, a war will take place. It shall be short-lived. Because as France destroyed the power of invasion from the Middle East in the 7th century, so shall it rise up and destroy the invading forces from the beast of the East. There will be a second Reformation in Europe. God says, I will begin in France. All the tribes of the earth shall be affected by the sound. Christian, Jewish, Islam, Buddha, they shall hear Jesus. Jesus shall touch every tribe, every nation, every language. From the sound, from this place, it shall never end, and the battle shall be won. That word is Yeshua, 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 Jesus. But Europe
Mais en Europe,
will be affected
l'Europe sera affectée.
in the same way that Daniel was praying.
Et de la même façon que Daniel a prié,
There was a war in the heavenlies.
Il y a eu une guerre dans les lieux célestes
Prince of Persia.
et le prince de la Perse.
There was a battle going on.
Il y a eu une bataille qui a été,
As there is today.
comme il y a aujourd'hui,
And France
et la France
shall join forces
va joindre ses forces
with Great Britain
avec la Grande-Bretagne
and some other nations.
et avec d'autres nations.
There will be a war.
Et il y aura une guerre,
It shall be a short war.
une guerre courte.
Hear me, please.
Écoutez-moi bien,
This war,
cette guerre,
and I'm not talking about a spiritual war,
et là je ne parle pas d'une guerre spirituelle,
a war will take place.
il y aura une guerre,
It shall be short lived.
une guerre très courte.
Because as France
Parce que comme la France
destroyed the power
a détruit le pouvoir
of invasion
de l'envahisseur
from the Middle East
et des envahisseurs du Moyen-Orient
in the 7th century,
dans le 7e siècle,
so shall it rise up
alors la France se lèvera
and destroy the invading forces
et elle va détruire aussi des forces qui
from
vont
the beast of the
envahir,
east,
qui viendront de l'Est,
and they will overcome
et nous allons vaincre,
an agreement
et nous allons vaincre un accord
between Russia
entre la Russie
and Iran.
et l'Iran.
So, Kim, we don't want the war. Too bad.
Ah, je ne veux pas faire la guerre, tant pis.
There shall be. Now, don't get frightened.
Il y aura, maintenant n'ayez pas peur.
We have an enemy that wants to invade.
Nous avons un ennemi qui voudrait bien envahir
Take Christ out of Europe.
afin d'enlever Christ de l'Europe.
Sitting on the front row here
Ici, dans la rangée de devant,
is a pastor from the Netherlands
nous avons ici un pasteur de la Hollande
and a pastor from England.
et un pasteur de l'Angleterre.
They represent the soil
Ils représentent le sol,
and the territories.
la terre,
God is going to pour out His Spirit.
où Dieu veut répandre de son esprit.
Germany will be included.
L'Allemagne sera inclus,
Italy.
l'Italie.
There shall be a great move of the Spirit.
Il y aura un grand mouvement de l'esprit.
It is literally the next reformation
C'est littéralement la prochaine réforme
that will come about
qui va arriver
because of reconciliation.
à cause de la réconciliation.
And the Fourth Reich
Et la quatrième Reich
shall be overcome.
sera vaincue,
For the hatred for the Jewish people
car la haine contre les Juifs
and the people of Christ
contre le peuple de Dieu
is causing demonic rage.
est en train de provoquer une rage
But
démoniaque.
God,
Mais Dieu
has made a declaration.
fait une déclaration,
One word
une
out of the
parole,
mouth of these people,
une parole qui sort de son peuple.
and the battle shall be won.
La bataille sera gagnée.
That word
Cette parole,
is Yeshua.
c'est Yeshua.
Jesus.
Jésus.
Jesus.
Jésus.
Say His name.
Dites son nom.
Say His name.
Dites son nom.
Okay, so finally it played. How many weeks have we tried? The 2 whole weeks we've tried to play that video for you and it worked. Thank you, Lord Jesus. You know what? I think it was because it was the time today for it to work. I see a lot of you talking about the jab as being the mark of the beast. I don't think it was. I think they're experimenting. I think that they plan to use that kind of a technology. But you do choose. Look, there's some weird things about that shot, but I don't believe that it's the actual mark of the beast. There's some pretty specific things about the number of the name, things like that. So I do think it's a precursor, though. I think that they did a mass experiment, but I won't talk about that anymore because I want to keep the YouTube channel, and we all know the truth. And I also want to point out this. So you heard him talk about the 7th century. When he walked off that platform, the first thing he did was grab whoever was around him and say, what happened here in the 7th century? He prophesied it was not without knowing, right? And then if you look it up, there was a Muslim uprising. And what he was seeing is that because of reconciliation, those particular countries, what they do there will have a hand in the overcoming of the Fourth Reich. that is rising, and so we believe this to be the globalist movement. But then you have all these other things going on that are reminiscent of Nazis, and then people thinking, oh well, that was only about the Jews. No, it was Hitler's problem. Hitler had the problem with the Jews, and not just Jewish people; it was others as well. So they decide who is worthy and who is undesirable, and then so everything's being controlled by a small group of people playing God. And so you'll remember, I will exalt myself above the stars of God. That's them right now. And good thing is, when my dad went to Davos, in he was there because God sent him there, and they prophesied over the region, and he said, I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven. And so he was seeing, and he was prophesying about the UN, not World Economic Forum, because I don't think he even knew what that was ever. But he saw the spirit over the region. And if you go there, that's where everything is. That's where the new tech place is, like for like technology, blockchain development and cryptocurrencies and AI. It's all going on there. And then you have the UN there, and you have the World Economic Forum there, World Health Organization. So it's centralized over there, which is interesting. And so he, very, very far in advance, saw this and began to conduct spiritual warfare against it uh, prior to things occurring, because it was in the works. So even though it wasn't in the news and maybe he didn't know directly any information, God showed him there was a problem brewing they were cooking it for a while, and they have been cooking this problem for a while. Things that were not dealt with or overcome in World War III, which we thought were not. And you have the issue of eugenics being central to all of this. So you'll hear people like Yuval Noah Harari and Klaus Schwab talk about um, uh, useless human beings. So what are you going to do? Technology is going to do everything for you. So what is your worth going to be? Or what are we going to do with them? We'll just feed them a bunch of drugs, and we have to keep them in line, and that much control just seems to me like you got to have something wrong with you if you want to have that much control over people. It's really seems like a lot of work. I wouldn't want to have that much control. I'm going to look at the comments here because I'm really wanting to hear from you guys, and I have been enjoying your comments here today. Imprint of the jab is the imprint of the mark. That's an interesting thought. And look over here. What are you guys at Rumble doing? Hello, Rumble. I love Rumble. I don't have to worry about censorship. Oh, that's interesting. Last ingredient found. Thank you, Matthew. Definitely genocidal. Rockstar Miracle says. And the bioweapons. You see all of these. As you read through the Bible, especially when you're reading the prophets, you will start to recognize things that are occurring. So a lot of people are bringing up other things. So we're not going to go down that road because we've run out of time. But good point. And as you do that, and I would encourage you to read your Bible, just even if you've read the stuff over and over, go read it again, because I find that when I'm going and looking again, now that certain events have occurred, I can then look and have perspective on those Bible verses that I thought I understood, and then you find that there's more to it, and the depth to it is the beauty of the Bible. I mean, really, God, God tells us, and it's all in there. Repeal the Act of 1986. I don't know what that is. Let's write that down. Act of 1986. I'm gonna look that up. Thank you. So I do, again, like I said, feel free to comment here because well, you are, but I'm just telling you that I am reading them today, like more than normal. Nanotech and everything. Well, that's the thing is we're also hearing about, they're talking about nanotech being in certain things, but also you're seeing like the food, what they're doing to our food. And this is, look, I'm not trying to scare anybody. I'm telling you, look, recognize it because we know this is going to be. Look, you have a promise right here, not just in the Bible telling you what's coming, but also through my dad with the more immediate details of the season we're in is it's happening. So all those countries he named, you start to see them more and more. We saw France, we saw the Netherlands in the last few weeks, months actually. But you've seen the people uprising. So he's saying a rising from the streets. Then Italy as well. Now, when Prigozhin committed his little mutiny over there in Russia, whatever trick they pulled, at the same time we were all looking at that, there were boatloads of military age Muslim men going into Italy. So Italy's there too. We've got Italy. Um, Holland joining NATO. I don't know, but we're looking, as someone, let's see, HRH Diane says, does Holland joining NATO have anything to do with this prophecy? Very possibly could. What did Katrina do? Yes, they can be saved because I don't believe the jab is the mark. I think it was a precursor. I think it was a test. So they're testing. Now, I did read earlier that Agenda 2030 is in trouble. So I don't know if that's true or not. It's so hard to find news. So I do find that going on social media platforms and following particular people, especially Twitter right now has been the friendliest. That's a good place but you still have to be careful. You can't get pulled into because people will post nonsense and you find out it's not true at all. So really, that's so difficult. It's so hard to not be able to just rely on the news saying this is what happened. They've always got to spin it. So we've covered those. Now I'm glad I was able to show you those two prophecies this week because I feel that we should be praying about this and paying attention. That's very important. And again, it shouldn't be too difficult. You should be able to obviously see it. Now we do live in a time of great deception, and all of the institutions and the things that we relied on have sort of crumbled around us. So when you do that seeking, just ask God to reveal the truth to you, and don't just take what someone says. Like, have a look, before you start sharing information, because there's so much confusion, and I really struggle with that. I'm guilty of that, which is why I'm bringing it up. Mark of the Beast is global. It says everyone. Let's read it again, I think, because that's a good point. Let's see, 16. No one may buy or sell except the one who has the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. And he says, causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand or on their forehead. People are getting chips on their arms, in the hand. You can go to the Amazon store. You don't have to bring anything with you. You grab what you want, you stick your hand, or they recognize your face, and you're done. That's your shopping. Sweden, all these smart cities coming up, and the people controlling that are the World Economic Forum people like George Soros, the climate change people. So, whatever's going on with our climate, you can look at what these politicians have been doing for decades. I've brought it up on here before. Remember in the 90s with the hole in the ozone, we were all going to burn up and we had to get rid of our aerosol hairspray, and everything was fine. So and you can guarantee that politicians are going to use any kind of information to twist and distort so they can make money and get more power. Those kind of people have a way of looking at the world, a way of thinking, a drive, and there is a spirit. It's a demonic spirit behind that. And it's very unfortunate because leadership dictates everything that's happening in our country, and we have to sort of pay attention to that. Aligning Ken Peters' prophecy. I've heard that, yes. Ken Peters in the 80s. Tribulation video. I'll have a look at that. I have not seen that. I know, right? Andre B. So the Secret Service can't identify who the cocaine belongs to. You have to be a blithering idiot if you don't know who that cocaine belongs to. You have to have been under a rock for the last couple of years if you don't know who that cocaine belongs to, because we all know. They say whatever they want to up there anymore because none of those people are serious. They're playing a game. They're playing a game that is affecting lives, and they don't care. They care about only themselves. You're talking to someone me, who lived in Hollywood for 13 years, and I've come to understand it definitely is a spirit. It's a demonic thing that takes over people's minds. It is an ugly, ugly thing. Um, and yes, do you see why Christians need to be in the political world? You see, what happened was with the 501c3 and nonprofits, 501s, all those nonprofits, the government, especially in the past, I don't remember how long it is, maybe a couple decades, you guys can tell me, really went down hard on ministries talking about policies. I'm sorry, about politics because of the separation of church and state, which I do feel is necessary at a certain level. But that doesn't mean like the taking out of the prayer from schools. It was stupid, and it was our fault. You see, the bottom line is it does kind of end up turning back to us Christians that we didn't fight this before. We should have had the foresight to say no. We are free in this country. If my kid wants to read their Bible and pray, I'm going to tell them not to. And I know a lot of people did, but it wasn't enough. And I think that's the biggest problem here, is that not enough of us are speaking out and doing something. And we need to really not be afraid to take a stand when something is wrong. Aborting a child is wrong. I don't care how they've spun it to make you feel better about what you did wrong. And it doesn't mean judging anybody, okay? Because I know people can be deceived and people get in desperate situations, but the bottom line is that is murder. And we have to stand and say, no, that is murder. And my tax money is not going to go to pay for that. Okay? If something is wrong, it is wrong. And you don't have to be a Christian to recognize when things are wrong. So as Christians, even more of a burden falls upon us, because to whom much is given, much is required. And we are given certain beautiful, special things as Christians, that relationship with God, that we get to hear his voice, to understand deeply and in a better way what's going on, to have peace and comfort as we go through these difficult times. That much is given. And so at the same time, much is required. We need to, yes. And that's why people will say to me, oh, well, you know, your father did, my father prophesied all about politics, which is why I'm in the situation I'm in. Because what else am I going to talk to you about? What am I supposed to pretend these prophecies didn't happen? We all know they did. So I have to talk about politics. I don't have a choice. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to have a conversation. Otherwise, we're going to sit here and have no conversation. I can't show you a single prophecy. You know what I mean? It's so ridiculous. So that is a trap, to say Christians are not allowed to talk about politics. The politics that governs our lives, our families, our faith. Yeah, I'm talking about it. I don't care if you get mad. You want me to read from the Bible? Look, I'm anointed to do what I'm supposed to do. I will read to you from the Bible, but I'm not anointed as a teacher or a pastor. I'm here to talk to you about what my dad prophesied, and what he prophesied is coming to pass, and it's giving us hope in a world where it seems like it's completely hopeless, like these people are taking over, these art giants. Okay, here's BRICS. I'll tell you about BRICS. The BRICS nations, which I'm South African. The South African thing keeps coming up, you guys. There's something to it. Because Elon Musk is South African. His brother's name is Kimball, which is what my dad's given name was, Kimball Clement, named after a piano. So there's all the South Africans. Even that UFC fight the other day was 2 South Africans who were fighting and won, which was interesting. So the BRICS nations are meeting in South Africa, I think upcoming in August, and they are meeting in Durban, South Africa. Of all the places the BRICS nation could meet, they're meeting in Durban. So you might be saying, well, why Durban? What does that matter? Where is Durban, Donna? That's where I was born. I was born in Durban. My mom and dad lived in Durban. My mom was born there. My grandmother, my whole family is from there. My Uncle Fred, his church, the Jesus Dome, which was Durban Christian Center, they dealt with apartheid, and they had the first multiracial church in South Africa. They said, forget you, government. Everybody's going to church. You can't tell us we can't go to church together. And man, they had government spies, agents spying on them, and they were getting arrested. The pastors arrested. So when we saw the lockdowns here, South Africans, you'll notice that Rodney Howard-Browne, for instance, didn't he get arrested? Yeah. He actually got arrested. Rodney Howard-Browne was my dad's friend back in South Africa, and he was also there in Durban, and he was here in Florida, and he got arrested during the lockdowns because he wouldn't close his church. And of course it was him because he was there dealing with the apartheid problem in South Africa and them dictating what you could do and not do and say and not say and be and not be within church. And he defied it. He said, no, I've already dealt with this problem in South Africa. And let me tell you, he's one tough cookie. He's not, he's no joke. It's no joke there with Rodney Howard Brown. And so, Katrina's asking if she can speak to me. You can email me at codebreakers. I'm going to type it in the chat. If you guys want to email me, you can. Codebreakers at houseofdestiny.org. There it is. You can email me there. I can't take phone calls because my phone is just too busy as it is. Yeah, the South African thing gave Michelle Du Bois goosebumps. Yeah, so BRICS are meeting in Durban. They could go to Cape Town. They could go to Johannesburg. These are the major cities. I mean, why wouldn't they go to Cape Town?
Victoria, the main
Oh
capital.
no. Why are they going to Little Durban, which is on the east coast by the beach? This is a little
By the Indian Ocean.
beach town, yeah, on the Indian Ocean. And that's where I grew up till I was 12 or 13. Then we moved. India backed out. Well, I hope they did. I really love India. They need help. So the BRICS. Now, here's the thing about BRICS. The BRICS are creating a currency that is gold backed. And of course, Africa has an abundance of it. So, oh, Tulsi and Lake. I like both of them. Carrie Lake. My husband calls Tulsi Lucy. But we like Lucy. Because she's speaking about the military industrial complex, which needs to be talked about because, I mean, how much money are they making on all these wars? My goodness, they pulled out of Afghanistan and went straight into Ukraine. And the people, the citizens of these countries are suffering so they can play war games and make money and print magical pretend money. Now you've got a real enemy rising up. They giants, Putin, Xi, what's his name from Iran? I can never pronounce it. You know Iran, that guy. Who's even running South Africa now? I'm not even keeping up with the politics anymore. Who's president of South Africa now? Any South Africa? There's a couple of South Africans in here. I've seen you. Amanda Grace prophecy. I'll speak to Amanda later today, actually. 44 countries. I heard this. My mother was telling me 44 countries are meeting. So it's not just BRICS. It was Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa that made the BRICS. And now, now there's 44 countries meeting in Durban, where I am from, where my dad, where Kim, he wasn't born there. Dad was born in Uitenhage, which is a little town outside of Port Elizabeth on the west coast. He became a Christian and then moved to Durban when he married my mom. And so then my mom and dad, we had a little apartment across from the school. Gordon Road Girls School is where I went to school, and I used to walk across the road to school every morning. That's how close we were. We had a little apartment. Anyway, and we lived in other places before then. I just don't remember because I was too young. But mom and dad got married, and dad lived in Durban. So there's something about that, and I don't know what it is. So you guys, please feel free to email me. The new South African government, not current ANC, will bring down the financial jump. Oh, interesting. Oh, you guys are so great. All your comments here. Kay gave her testimony in 1988. Kay Griggs talked about the military industrial. I thought you were talking about a different Kay. Goes back to whoever owns the gold. That's right. So, speaking of gold, hey, that's a good idea. Let's talk about this. So, one thing that we're doing at the ministry now is it's a difficult time, you know. Everything's changing. It was like when my dad got sick, everything shifted from being on the internet to being on social media. And during the course of that time, we had the complete breakdown of all of our institutions. So all of us became journalists, didn't we? Because it was so easy to share information on social media. Then we started getting censored there. And now you find a lot of, instead of going to Fox, NBC, CNN to watch the news, now we follow actual individual people. And so you can say, okay, well, I trust Dan Bongino, John Solomon. So I'm going to follow Dan Bongino and John Solomon, sorry, Glenn Beck, people like that. So then we can say, okay, well, I know Dinesh D'Souza, so I can watch Dinesh D'Souza's podcast, and I know I can trust him because he's usually, so far, his credibility has been good. Same with Dan Bongino. From the first day I started watching him, I saw that video. There was a video of him giving a speech. I found his podcast, and I've been watching him ever since. Dan Bongino, reliable. So it's changed now to where I don't go to NBC or Fox for news. I go to Bongino. I go to individual people that I can now trust. So that change happened. And so everybody started doing podcasting. Now, I will say, when my dad first passed away, one of the things I wanted to do right away was start a podcast, which didn't make as much sense back then as it does now. But I think that was quite prophetic on my own part. I'll give myself a little pat on the back for that. I don't get often. But I was right about that. Anyway, the point being, the world changed. And it always does that. We know that. But we're seeing that happening a little bit more rapidly, and especially in the way in which, because we have this new virtual space, right? And we're having to exist in a space that is like invisible, which is crazy. So I sometimes think, is that Mystery Babylon? Look, please, Babylon people, don't get mad, okay? Some of you are very intent that America is Mystery Babylon. Others say that Babylon is Babylon. But the word mystery is quite interesting there. I don't know, okay? I'm not saying anything. I always, whenever I bring this up, people are like, "Da, da, 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 da." Slow down, rein in. We're just thinking about something here. It's a mystery Babylon. Could it be something that we have not seen yet? Because this space right now that we're in together, we're in another space, right? It's so crazy to think about. And that space has become the new marketplace. So used to, everybody would come to the marketplace, and that's where you would sell things, and politicians would come speak, and you would have a church, you would have, vendors, you would have, so everybody came to the center, the city center, or that marketplace, or that area. I'm not thinking of the right word, but you know what I mean. And so now it's virtual. So we wherever we physically are, we can look through the magic little box and we go somewhere else. And so there's a new way of doing things, and we are all existing in that space, even though our physical bodies aren't there, but we are there. So that gets into dimensional stuff. And that's why you're seeing all these changes. That's why you're seeing it go from we look at news like this, now we look at it like this, now it's changing again. And so I think we're at the cusp of that next change. And so there's a lot of potential for bad, but there's also potential for good. And so being mindful of that, we were talking about BRICS and the gold-backed currency. And we actually here at the House of Destiny Network have partnered with Beverly Hills Precious Metals. So Beverly Hills Precious Metals is Andrew Sorcini. He's so cool. I met him at the Reawaken America tour like over a year ago, and we just became friends because he's such a real guy. Like, he's not, a big talker, salesman kind of person, because I get a little bit with that. He's very soft-spoken, very, very smart. And we became friends. I mean, we talk about all kind of financial things. I'm terrible with the financial side of things and understanding markets and all this. It's too much for my brain. But I can go to Andrew and I can say, Andrew, what does this mean? Or what do you think about that? And then Andrew can tell me that. Why are you saying that? Oh, is it going to cut me off? Oh, okay. I might get cut off, so I better hurry. So Beverly Hills Precious Metals, we've partnered with them. And so what they do is they help you buy gold. So if you're seeing like the stock market looks weird and I'm not sure about the banks, they can help you take a portion of your whatever if you have a 401k, they can help you with that. Or if you have just money that you're saving, you can turn that into gold. But the problem is you want to make sure that you're dealing with a reliable source. And so we found one, and his name is Andrew Sorcini. Many of you who watch Clay Clark will recognize him. He's always on there. He's with General Flynn often, and he's become a friend of mine, and I feel comfortable recommending him to you. So if you are someone who is seeing what's going on in the world and you're looking at the gold and you're like, what do I do? Shouldn't I diversify and just have a little bit of it in gold? Andrew will be able to help you do that. And he's there. His team is incredible. They will give you advice. So you must go to, if you're interested, go to, I'll put it here in the chat. It's called Beverly Hills Precious Metals, but the website is www.bh-pm.com. And if you go there, use the promo code Kim Clement, KIMCLEMENT, one word, and you'll get a discount. You'll get a deal because he's partnered with us. And the reason I gave you that whole spiel on the virtual space and everything changing is because it's also changing for ministries and for us. And so, really for my mom and I, we have a small operation here. The House of Destiny Network is not a huge, big staff or anything like that. We really trimmed everything down, and we have a really great core team of people. And oh, actually, by the way, tomorrow you need to watch our Saturday broadcast. We're doing a special. We have just launched a new show on the House of Destiny Network called Real Life, Real Faith. And it's more on the ministry level, but the particular people from our team, Pastor Fa, Chrissy Desfontaine of Israel Update, Breeze from our worship team, you know Bree well, a lot of you, they're getting together and they're doing interviews and they're discussing real day-to-day issues that affect Christians. And it's really beautiful. And it's something that, we really needed here at the ministry that I can't obviously do. Mom and I are very focused. So we have that there for you here at the House of Destiny Network, as well as our Wednesday services and Israel Update on Fridays. You can get news from the ground in Israel. You don't want to miss that. That's actually on today. So go to the House of Destiny Network if you want to see about Israel today. And just have a look at what we're doing, because we're slowly building things up. And we've decided to sponsor with Beverly Hills Precious Metals and My Pillow, just to help give our network a little boost so that we're not so reliant on donation, because sometimes that could be up and down, especially depending on the how things are going financially in the world. Not everybody has, what we used to have. Certainly not what we had in the Trump years, isn't it? Everything's more expensive. So we are facing a giant number of giants, right? And those giants are being media, Hollywood, things like that. They are backed by billions of dollars. So their production and everything they do is fantastic. And then here we are, this little remnant of people, of Christians, like, oh my goodness, these giants are after us. And these people like don't want us. So what can I do? Like, there's often people just feel sort of helpless. Like, I'm not a person who speaks publicly. I don't know how to get involved with this, that, or the next thing. What can I do? By simply saying, let's show them My Pillow. By simply saying, I need to buy towels and sheets. Instead of going to Target where they have Satanists designing clothing for children, go to My Pillow and order your towels and sheets from there, because simply doing that, not only are you not supporting Target and their evil agenda right now, you are now supporting a Christian who's been there for years in the marketplace, which is something Dad spoke often about. And you also will get a discount. So if you use, again, the promo code Kim Clement, you can get your towels and sheets at My Pillow, which they're so much better there anyway. And you get a huge discount. And then you support us, and you support Mike Lindell, and you support the group of Christians that are trying to do something that can. So there's some that can and some that can't. The ones who can't, please do support the ones who can. And so House of Destiny is one of those places. And we're just trying to keep it running. We're just trying to keep things going and moving. We have excellent, excellent viewership and interaction. All of you are so awesome. And so I think, oh my goodness, I'm looking at these comments. I want to get pulled into this now because it's going to cut me off. We have a time limit. So don't forget, let's recap. Revelation 13 basically is describing kind of what we're going through right now. So worthy of note. Watchmen, what of the night? Because there will be one war. The beast of the east will rise up. The goal to remove Christianity. But God has promised us that the Fourth Reich would be overcome because the people, not the governments, not the people in power, the people from the streets, the people who are affected, who actually have the control, that small little group up there that is putting on a big show for you, they know that in our numbers, we can just overcome them like that. And all we need is to see the truth. So they lie to us and deceive us and propagate us because they know. But we know God wins. So that Second Reformation, Fourth Reich being overcome because of reconciliation. There we go, guys. That means that there's hope. Um, there are things that we need to pay attention to. There are things we need to pray about. We know what the Bible tells us is going to happen, and we need God to give us the wisdom to discern the times that we are in. And so that's where I am today. I pray for all of you, whatever you're going through and struggling through, that God will pick you up this week and carry you through it, and that there will be answers to your problems, and that you will find those answers. And because with you and God, that's quite a powerful thing. And when two or more are gathered in his name, and that's us right now, he's amongst us. So we thank you, Father, for joining us today, and for giving us clarity, and for making this interesting too, because it's been very difficult. And so we thank you for your protection, and that you remembered us. In your precious name, I pray. Amen, everybody. We will see you next Friday. Who do I have next Friday?
Well,
Andrew Sorcini, who I was just talking about, is going to join me here live next week. So if you guys have questions about financial stuff, I cannot answer it, but Andrew Sorcini can, and he's with Beverly Hills Precious Metals. If you're interested in diversifying your portfolio and getting a little bit of gold, he can help you do that. And you can trust him. I trust him. So you'll get to meet him next week right here. If you haven't seen him before, Sorcini will join me, and we'll have a great time talking about gold. All right, guys. Love you all. We'll see you next week.
My name is Jane Clement, and I am the president of the House of Destiny Network.
My name is Donna Clement Petrushka, and I am the vice president of the House of Destiny Network. My dad used to have a thing called $5 in your face offering. And he did that because he understood that sometimes people might be sitting there saying, well, I only have a little bit to give. But I often use the analogy of a car engine. You know, everybody feels like maybe they're not too important, or maybe their little part they're playing is small, or what can I do as I see these things going on around me? And you may think that that's a little bit, but it's a huge amount when we come together and support one another. And so just as little as $5 can help us with our missions. It can help us with just keeping these prophecies, all these prophecies that came through my dad, coming to you. And it takes quite a bit to be able to find it and edit it and present it. And so there's a whole staff of people that work very, very hard to make sure that we can get this information to you. And it is vital in this season because of what was prophesied. And so, again, you may feel that $5 is not much, but it's something. And then you are a part of something and a part of doing something where you may feel like it's, you know, there's nothing you can do. There is something you can do. You can support the people who God has put at the front lines, who are actively making a difference.
I first met Kim in 1978. The price of gold back then was $200 an ounce. Today, it's gone up to $2,000 an ounce.
I can tell you inflation is a real thing because in a very short period of time, just living in the state of Tennessee, I had moved from California. I could see the difference when I moved here, just in the grocery store, and since 2020, the way prices have risen, it's not much different than when I lived in California now.
To schedule a consultation with Beverly Hills Precious Metals, go to bh-pm.com and make an appointment today.
One thing about Mike Lindell, and this is going back to many, many years, we like to support people like him because, number one, he's a Christian in the marketplace, which is something that my dad not only prophesied a lot about, but really truly believed in. And so for many years, our ministry has supported Mike Lindell for being a Christian, but also supporting one another. It makes us stronger against those big tech people who are backed by billions of dollars, that together we can make a difference and get a message out there.
By using the promo code Kim Clement, you're not only supporting Mike Lindell, but you're also helping us reach the unreachable, touch the untouchable, and reach the world with the gospel.
This was sacred to God.
Now is the time to act.
This is exactly why I need some action from my people.
Hello, everybody. It's an honor to be with you.
Over 40 years ago, Kim and I embarked on a ministry journey that has now become a global network through the power of the internet. As part of this pioneering work, we are gathering people from all over the world to worship together, grow in our faith, and inspire hope through an uplifting message. We are dedicated to reaching out with God's message of hope and love to all without discrimination or judgment. We invite you to join our House of Destiny free membership that allows you to connect with members from around the world. Through our prayer wall, you can post your requests and have others join us in prayer. It's so powerful when the saints gather and believe for a breakthrough. We invite you to join today. Simply click the online church login and sign up. Partnerships are vital to our global outreach, enabling us to take the love and hope of Jesus Christ to those who need it most. Our Boots on the Ground Partnership Program physically ministers to those in desperate situations all over the world. The Israel Partnership furthers Kim's legacy of outreach to Israel and Jewish people worldwide. We invite you to become a partner today. We are here for you, and we have worked hard to provide the resources and tools to help you grow in your faith. Join us today and be part of a community that inspires hope, brings restoration to life, and often healing from the past. Together, we can make a difference, and we thank you for your ongoing support.